Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22, Dragons episode number 12, and it is signing period. We're going to begin with the sponsorship. This is likely the final financial upgrade with Air China. So let's hope that we do finally see another Asian sponsor come along. Otherwise, a year from now, we could be looking at the exact same finances that we'll be receiving at this point. So we do finally get an offer outside of Europe, not the Belgian one, but Mexico still does not fit our needs. And even though it was suggested in the comments, I am sticking to this rule. I am not going to divert from this one. We've already diverted a little bit when it came to the staff, and so far that hasn't actually worked out very well for us, as it's part of the financial problems that we have. So 113K with Air China, another year with them, and the limit is somewhere between 100 and 120, so we're already probably right about the limit. The 14,000 that we increased last year, I'm guessing our 113, regardless of what we do, is going to be 113 again next season, or another year down the road. It's sad, but eventually we will get another sponsor offer. This is the longest I've ever gone without getting sponsor offers within the same nation or nearby nations. I mean, career mode for PCM22, the career mode series, we had an external offer year number 1 from 2 other Asian nations. We started with an Asian sponsor, and that one technically was Oceanian, as Guam is not Asia, it's Oceania, but in FIFA they are tied to China, or to Asia, just like Australia is. So where New Zealand is the only Oceania powerhouse, which isn't a powerhouse at all, right? If you've seen the New Zealand national team, but Australia kind of set the tone. Also, just above Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, the pair of them both have ties to Japan, as Japan has a policy when it comes to the sport of soccer that for them to be good, for them to be competitive on the world stage, to eventually win a World Cup, they need better opposition. Now, better opposition exists in Europe, in South America, but not in Asia. Now, of course, South Korea is pretty good, but then that kind of is the end of it. There's the occasional golden generation in Iran, or some Middle Eastern countries can produce a good team every once in a while. But really, Japan and South Korea are it in the sport. Japan understands that for them to improve, for them to become elite, they have to play better teams on a regular basis. And they can't just Japan, South Korea play each other every single friendly, every single opportunity, and occasionally go compete in Europe. Especially with Europe, they have so much internal competition and opportunities that it's rare to be able to get a friendly against them, and certainly it wouldn't be a competitive match. Of course, there's the North American teams, but same issue with only a couple options there. So they have invested in some of the smaller nations around them to help build them up, because if the competition is better, they will get better. It's a good, strong philosophy. But anyway, as we started with Guam in that series, we found sponsors immediately. And then I had moved on to a Japanese sponsor, and then we found other Asian sponsors again and again and again and again, without fail, without issue. And somehow in this series, so far, no luck. Our time will come. I will be patient. It will happen. But for now, we might be stuck at 113 for the foreseeable future. But at least we've made the growth to 113 for now. Coming back to that story for just a second to tie it back in and what the point really was, the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam are both in the Asian Football Confederation. They're in the AFC partially because of the ties to Japan and partially because there are far more resources in the AFC than there is in Oceania. And as a result, they knew that joining the Oceania group would have been a dead end scenario. And so both are trying to rise by having access to the resources of the AFC, the help of Japan, which of course that necessary to be in the AFC to really get that, as again the kind of the philosophy that Japan has. It's got to be that internal competition. Internally, we finally have 3 guys that are at that 4.5 stars or better, including a 5-star guy in Oscar. We've got the end of the year coming up and it's the signing period, and one of those 3 has an expiring contract. Unfortunately, it's Oscar. Oscar, who has hit 5 stars, is the one with the expiring contract. He's going to be a hard one to re-sign. Without him, we got 2 4.5-star guys in Yamamoto and Hossein Zada. I got his name figured out on how to pronounce it. There's enough syllables in there, but it's actually not that complicated. I should have figured it out earlier. But anyway, without Oscar, Shu becomes our 3rd man, and he's still 4 stars. That is exactly what we had last season, not counting the decimal point average of them, but that's exactly what we had last season and came up just short of making Continental Pro on. And actually, looks like we're a little bit lower than where we were last season with that, as we are just 41st. It's still 75 points. There's some sort of decimal work in there, but it's short enough. We're not even in Continental Pro right now without the signings coming and altering that and changing that. So we 100% without a doubt must either re-sign Oscar or the 1 4.5-star guy out there that is also available besides Oscar that I have a dossier on. I must sign at least one of those 2 guys. The last hope for us is that internally one of our mini 4-star guys does level up substantially. But at this point, we're low on our 2 4.5-star guys. And if we were low on the additional 4.5-star guy, that alone may not do it. Oscar was apparently very high as a 4.5-star guy, and because he barely added a point of flat and hit 5 stars. Ideally, we want to hang on to Oscar, even though he really hasn't done much winning. Yamamoto wins way more often than Oscar, but 5 stars is 5 stars, and we need to get into Continental Pro so we can actually start doing something in terms of competing at a higher level and trying, even if failing most of the time, but trying to get the breakthrough win that's going to start to see the database grow in our favor. Here's where we're at on the expiring contracts. We signed a lot of guys in that first year, which really transformed the team from an absolute nothing to, okay, we're getting somewhere. And, out of that, there's 3 4-star guys and Oscar. It definitely wasn't a bad signing period. Some of the guys didn't work out terribly well. Taraskin's a big surprise, but actually he was only a 2-year deal. We wanted to make sure we could get him re-signed before seeing his evaluation fly, and so far actually that's gone well because he's only a 3-star guy right now, 70s across the board, and he's got a lot of remaining potential. So I think we can get him re-signed for just about minimum. But a lot of these guys are going to go. Like all of these 3.5-star guys, none of them are coming back. There's going to be some turnover. In terms of the money, the 32.5 of expiring contracts plus the 14 coming in gives us 46.5 to be exactly where we're at right now in spending. Now, this year is another deficit issue. We've dropped 120K since the start of the season. We're going to continue to drop some more the remainder of the season, but we're going to stay above zero. And then December, we're going to get another injection of, 100,000 or so, but we're still going to be less than where we started out. I think we could maybe just about make it another year without a variation to those finances. We also do have a potential expiring contract on the scout that we brought in, who was a bit more expensive. So we could go cheaper in that department without punishment, without penalties, without extra fees. We could save some additional money. So I think realistically, we can get away with spending $50K. And with a current gap in rider salaries of $27,000, technically we could spend $27,000 more. Even if we do make Continental Pro, I would expect that we're going to earn more money, and maybe we actually have a positive balance next year. Maybe. Let's see what we can do in terms of signings. I don't need as many coming back. That's good news. And normally, I would pay close attention to the balance of the team. What do we need to make the team more well-rounded? That's not my concern for this series or at this point in time. If we're going to have a high super prestige ranking, if we're going to be successful, eventually, yes, we need to be much more well-rounded. But it's about the individuals and how they perform, not necessarily how the team performs. Now, if we get into Continental Pro and we want to get better races at the World Tour level, which is, yes, that is a goal, we're going to need the team to start placing much, much higher. We're not there at this stage. That's still a prospect that's 2, 3, 4 years away in my mind. The let's be the best Continental Pro team, like, we're far from that goal. I'm not worried about profile of riders, but I am worried about the top 3. I need something to join these two that is either this good or, like I said, the one other candidate we have. What I do worry about a little bit is the size of the team. We have 14 returning riders. That means I need 6 or more signings, but we definitely do not need to be returning the 12 that are expiring. We can cut back on that quite a bit. 6 to 8 at most. Now, as I started to aim a little bit higher in quality of riders that we're trying to sign, as a result, the dossier cost started to go up for some of these guys. And also the interest level, as we're still just a Continental team, wasn't quite there. So you can see in my dossier set, 5 of them have no interest, or, well, have limited interest in joining our team, including the other 4.5-star guy, which is Itamar Einhorn, Israeli rider who is a decent sprinter. He's got a 76, 75. Unlike Oscar, he's got a 76 flat. He's got 73 resistance. He does not have much stamina, but he is still much, much better in those 3 areas than Oscar is. Oscar has better top speed, but doesn't have anything else, including good acceleration. First signing I want to get out of the way, though, is by far the best prospect in the class, Qasim Reddy out of Kuwait. He is a 5-star puncher prospect, 5.5-star climber prospect, and good enough in the time trial to be a 6-star stage racing prospect. This is a guy who can maybe win some stage races. I'm not sure if he's ever going to be good enough to win a Grand Tour without help and support, but man, oh man, if we could get him to win a Giro or win some stages, even if he's just like a breakaway guy and win some stages, I think that would be a good start point. But that would transform Kuwait massively. And we've got him signed for the minimum. And yes, I am going for 3 years. For now, finances are a concern in the short term, especially with the sponsor issue that we have. I'm hoping that within 3 years, we will have transformed into a new sponsor with better finances that can go to re-signing a guy like this. And even if they don't, if he goes off and has success with another team, it's okay. It's a good thing. Success is the goal, not necessarily keeping him with us forever. I feel bad for siphoning talent away from the Israel Cycling Academy, as that is where Reddy has been riding, and we're going to go after their next guy in Liam Allen. They're finding some talent here. Israel Cycling Academy is. It's helpful having 2 Asian-based World Tour teams, but of course the problem with Israel, it's not a major problem or anything, but one, it's not that popular of a sport within Israel at this point. There's not a lot of cyclists. It's not as big of a population as you have with many other countries. And, of course, anyone who knows their history of the sport, Israel Premier Tech is a new team. They've only been around for a few years, and of course they got their premier signing, their expensive one, in Chris Froome, who was coming off a major injury and is just not the same rider that he was before, the multiple Tour de France winner. And he's on massive salary, so he's making it really hard for that team to do a whole lot. But clearly, the database is slowly getting bigger, better, deeper when it comes to Israeli talent and maybe some of the nearby countries as well. It's definitely a weaker class this year, but it's hard to pass on this one. 5-star stage racing prospect. That's one thing I think we really need to build towards, because that's where a lot of the opportunities to build the database are going to come out of this type of profile. We're going to need somebody to support our top climbers. So we are going to need a few guys that can climb, and this one seems like a decent prospect, and he's already the national champion of Mongolia. Interest was only moderate, so we are going to have to go above minimum, but at 3K, that should get the job done, and does. So he's just a hair above minimum, and that's still a good deal for us. And for our fourth signing, we're looking for a guy who's already got a decent amount in his web. Puncher mostly, but he could definitely be one of those support climbers that we are going to need. And this is a rider out of Turkey. Hopefully Ganai will sign for minimum. It looks like we might have to do luxury teammate to make it happen, and we've got it done. So that is 4 riders, and like I said, minimum is 6. I think I now have the freedom to target our big time guys, and so far we've spent 10.5. Still have about 40,000 left to spend. I'm hoping that Oscar should be significantly less than that. By the way, Oscar went from 0% interest in re-signing to 100% interest. So that was fantastic that we've been able to get him fully back on board with staying with us. But of course, as far as 5-star goes, he is barely 5-star, and this is almost purely that sprint rating. I guess his acceleration did go up, because I believe it was a 72 or 73 before. So his flat came up and acceleration came up as well. I do remember it being quite a bit lower. So maybe that is really where but going from a minimum contract, we know it's going to cost us more. Oh yeah. Oh, if we can get anywhere near this is a great deal, and definitely 3 years. We only get 3 shots at this. He's already not a fan of the money, but I mean, this is fantastic money for what we're aiming for. And he signed. Yes, we got him. 15.8. I mean, if I could have paid less, I don't care. That is awesome deal. We'll round that up to 16, so we're at 26.5. We've only spent half of what we could spend. We got our main man. And this is going to put us in Continental Pro, almost assured. So when it comes to Einhorn, here's why I'm going to pass on him, even though he's 4.5 stars already, and that is helpful to the team. With Oscar signed, Einhorn doesn't fit into my top 3 anyway, or at least doesn't really help it. He might boost it by the tiniest bit, but the 5-star is going to boost it way more than Einhorn would. But look at what he actually has for ratings. He's only a sprinter. He's very, very weak otherwise. He's a terrible climber. He's got a 58 mountain. He is more balanced. He's got a 76 flat with a 76 sprint and 73 resistance, but he still doesn't have good stamina. He does have 75 acceleration, but we already have guys on our team that are like this. As it is, he's already making 13K. As it is, he's already 27 years. This is not a 15K, 20K that I need to be spending. I can save that money for next year and have a little easier time with signings, especially if we're not going to be seeing an increase in our funding if we're stuck with Air China again. And that means for my 1 to 3 additional signings, I can pick and choose who I want. We're going to start with Alpasov, and you might be starting to notice a trend. I'm going after a lot more climbers this year to help us out, to help Yamamoto out, to make us more competitive, especially if we're going to start in Continental Pro, and it looks like that might be the case. This is somebody I'm hoping to sign for close to minimum. He isn't happy with important writer. I guess we're gonna have to go with leader, which means he's probably gonna get upset. You know what, let's try the important writer first. I think that it is gonna take more than a minimum salary. Yeah, see, that's not even close, but he's happy with that salary. So if we can give him leadership, that might actually be enough to do it. So close. So close. 3,500 though, I think is fine, especially with the kind of money we have. It's only 1,000 more and a 3-year deal. With new solid climbing prospects, Younggu Lee was somebody that I was looking to re-sign, but I think I can afford to pass on him now. For one, he's already just about maxed out. He's not going to get much better than he is. It'd be nice to have a South Korean on board that we could maybe eventually turn into somebody, but he doesn't have the ceiling. He just does not have the ceiling to be that guy. So we're not going to re-sign him. Taraskin, on the other hand, while behind Younggu Lee at this point, does have that solid 5-star and is closer than some of these new guys. I think we should be able to get him re-signed on the cheap, especially now, because he should like us a shot. And yeah, we're paying him less than we were before. Broken record, but we are so far below where we were with finances that we're going to be in that better shape. We're going to have more money to spend, and getting good prospects is getting good prospects. And 5-star climbers and punchers are good prospects. And as a Saudi Arabian, it's another opportunity. If he hits his maximum, he might be able to get a stage win here or there and start raising that profile. He's just on that edge. Got room for one, but I'm looking at 2 guys maybe as 2 final signings. 9 still is 3 less than what we had, and for less money. And we've got him signed for a minimum as well. And my last target, so post signings check-in, still on the 1st of August, UAE looks like the strongest team in the coming season, with Ineos, Bike Exchange, and Bora Hansgrohe the top teams in World Tour. And if we're going to see any changes, X look pretty strong heading into the new season. Trek look to bounce back to World Tour status, and we are by far the highest rated continental team. In fact, we are above current World Tour team Tudor at the moment. Now solidly 3.5 stars, where we were 3.25 last season. Is that enough though? I mean, the cutoff is just 36th. We're only 26th. Still not a guarantee. The thing about the database is it gets deeper and deeper and deeper each season. Are we better than last season? 100% without a doubt. But is that enough? We came up just short last season. Is being better enough, or do we have to be significantly better? Well, let's hope it's enough. It would be nice if you could look at because it shows your old profile versus your new profile. It would be nice if it would show your end of last season, your mid-October last year profile versus where you are now, because it always shows you what was your profile yesterday, what's your profile today. Well, if you have major altering signings, it's different. What I care more about was where were we when the decision was made last year. Oscar was not a 5-star guy last year. Hossein Zada was not a 4.5-star guy last year. So we had 2 4.5s and then 4s and below. So with that transformation over the last 10 months, we're a different looking team. And so when we go and re-sign and have the same top 3 guys today as I had yesterday, and thankfully, yes, we got Oscar re-signed, and I'm grateful for that. But the web is identical, and I don't really know if we're getting better. Now, most of the guys we signed are prospects. So it's, develop in-house and see where they're at in a year or 2. These guys aren't coming in as major signings, though we did get one more 4-star guy coming in, so there is that. In fact, he's already number 5 on our list. That one, Locke's on the verge of 4 stars already. We still have some young prospects. Here's how we are getting younger, though. Look at that. All of those guys, 19 to 21 years of age, and then 2 leaders. That's a transformation, and that's starting to look more like what I'm used to for my series. It's good. This is all coming out of the database. I'm happy. I am happy with the progress we are making. I am semi-nervous that the database is going to be deep enough that maybe it's not Continental Pro yet. Man, oh man, would that suck if we are stuck yet another year. We do still have 2.5 months for anyone, and this, top 8 guys. Oscar just recently leveled up and is 27. Yamamoto is 29. More likely it's going to be, the next 6 guys behind him, 7 guys behind him to do it, but could happen that one of them is going to boost up into that 4.5 star range and be higher than Hossein Zada and, bring us up that little bit more, that 1 or 2 more tenths. That could make a real difference. And as young as we are, it could happen still. It could easily happen in the next couple months, especially with how long it's been since we saw, these guys leveled up in, February? Something like that. And nobody's leveled up really since then. We added maybe 1 more 4-star guy since then, and that's it. So one of these guys is not going to be leveling up again anytime soon. But Schechter is a big-time prospect, only 20 years of age. He could easily level up again before the end of the season. We are at the Deutschland Tour. It is stage 2 out of 4 stages. We've got 2 sprint stages and 2 punchy stages, and I did bring our sprinter Oscar, but otherwise, for the most part, it is very much our punchers that are at this one. And as far as punchy goes, they're not that severe, but this is definitely a higher profile race than probably any that we've participated in so far as we go to hit the first notable climb of the day. A few more to go, and we've got excellent conditions for this one. I, of course, took this as our focal point for the season, so we've got a lot of guys that are on fitness peaks, that have the objectives, that have relatively high morale for most, and compared to the expected race day condition, we lucked out a little bit with a, I believe, +4 on the net to be even better. The only rider that was expecting to have a bit of an off day is Brandon No, and his -2 is exactly what he is sitting on right now, and I think we're going to have to gel up with him fairly soon, and we're also probably going to have to up the effort to go beyond a 75. So let's start with that part. Get these guys up to an 80. Brandon No will gel up now. And Shu will get just a moment later, right about now. I think we might be having those 2 left behind after this climb, expecting that it is hard enough to take that out of the legs. And yes, right now it is definitely hard enough for that. We're seeing a pretty big push acceleration here. And he's going to start his fade. Oscar also fading just because he's not a good climber and on his own. And he's going to be the one taking over, or do I just let him be? I'm probably going to let him be. I think my plan with Oscar is we're going to put him on the tail end of whatever we're doing. See if he can't hang on, because as far as things go, he's a sprinter. If he can hang on through these 2 punchy stages and not lose any time, maybe in the 4th stage, if we haven't gotten anything by that point, we can try to win the sprint for him and maybe see him take the overall that way. But I'm not counting on it. We're just kind of putting him in that position. We're down to 91. Even No has not been dropped, as he's way too far behind to impact anything here. And with 2 climbs to go and mostly downhill for a big chunk of it, I think we need to get on with our program. In fact, there's some yo-yoing right now, so get him out there and start changing the tempo and splitting this field, because that's the way to get the sprinters out of it and make it actually be a punchy event over these last 2 climbs. Final man of the breakaway, Wackerman, has been caught, or is about to be caught, and Zhu is done. Chu continues on, and there we go. We finally catch that guy properly, and we push a little bit harder with Chu right now. 106 is way too many. He splits off 4 riders. It's not much. We want to make it hard through here, but over the top. That's where we want to kind of really start to push things a little bit more. Down to 79, down to 78, accelerate over the top, make it hard to catch. This could split the field. 76, 75, 73. And that seems to be what we brought it down to. And Chu is nearly done, and on to Bagarov. And we're going to be descending again in just a moment. Chu doesn't really have anything left, but maybe he can help break toe. 14.7k to go. Bagarov already on his gel. Others coming along now, so this is a good thing that we're trying to go here. But we got some guys competing for the sprint. I know there's 3 seconds out there, but it's not a good thing for what is about to come. All right, Lee to gel, 11k to go. Hill coming. Bagarov, it's so technical that he's not going that deep, but Lee will take over soon enough. And he is out of red bar. Get him on the back end here. Chu is not gone. Wow, we haven't been able to break away from him. That's how technical it's been. Okay, on the ascent, 1k to go is all. Oskar does not have much left in the tank here, but he might possibly not lose time. And that's Arnsman trying to attack, but that's all he had. And Lee is going to be able to recover this. And we're setting up Yamamoto. Oskar just doesn't have anything left. Bagarov doesn't have anything left. We've really split this field now. Down to 21. And we did catch Arnsman. We'll come around the corner. Setting up the end. 4k to go for Yamamoto. He's got just a little bit left, but how much do the others have in comparison? Lee, 2k. No red bar. Sprinting. And Yamamoto's going to have to go early. He's got to go early. It's too early. Well, maybe not. It's technical. Let's go. Get in there. Get a top 3. No. It's going to be a 4th or 5th or 6th for that matter, as we've got 2 guys coming up on the outside. Shelling lures. Custer. Yamamoto hangs on for a top 5, but no time bonus. And just 21 riders left here with, well, really 19, but a couple guys losing a little time. Random groups coming in before you finally get to them. Let's hope that doesn't suddenly put all those guys on at the same time. You do all that hard work to split the field, and then they don't give the splits. We'll see if they did on this occasion. It's the only way we're gaining anything, is we couldn't quite crack the top 3. And they do give the time gaps. After Lee, those 2 get same time, but the next 2 do not. The next group of individuals do not, and then Oskar's group come in 56 seconds down. So that is absolutely going to divide this field up. And the top 3 are the only ones with any sort of time gains here. So we're looking at 21 riders left in contention for this race. All we need is 1 second to get up to 4th. And we have Yamamoto and Lee in those positions. Now on to stage 3, and with those time gaps, we're looking at a smaller group, but probably the same riders are going to be able to finish in place here. So we would realistically need to get a top 3 on the stage to have any sort of chance with the overall on this one. Otherwise, we're just going to be well placed, maybe even only cracking the top 10, because the stage 1 sprint results weren't good. So count back, we're not well placed with those 2 riders at this point. What we are doing though is we are navigating this thing. The last 3 climbs is where we're going to want to have the action. So as we get through this kind of climb it beforehand, we're trying to save energy a little bit. Field has split a couple of times, and Zhu, I didn't even know he was out the back. Unfortunately, he has missed out. He's only a 62 mountain. He has regained contact though, so there's that. And we might have to slow this down. This field split through that a couple of times. Put him on auto. And Oskar just got himself split off momentarily as well. He needs to get back forward. Conserving energy for those 2 has not worked out terribly well, but here comes Zhu. Try to get them back into position. We've got some time for that to happen. The breakaway was way too far ahead to gain anything. It's still a 2-minute gap, but it's coming down fast now. And Oskar is back up in place. Zhu, meanwhile, is almost there. He's now going to have to protect somebody, that's for sure. So who to protect? Probably Bagarov. Bagarov looking like the next strongest. Oscar, go ahead and start following our leader Yamamoto. Though maybe Lee is the leader today. And I think I need to up the effort of these guys as we are entering the 3 climbs. For now, hold position. Peloton splitting a little bit, and we've caught the break. And Yamamoto is recovering his position a little bit. And we're looking at guys already fading just from that first climb because of the tempo, down to 81. Yamamoto is right here in the group that's about to regain contact. Kind of split right there with him, in front of him anyway. And they might not get back up there, which means we might be looking at Lee. And it really doesn't matter which one of the two, because seeing the field split, it's not terrible. Oscar, let's put you up. Let's put you on protect. And use your gel. And we got 3 guys up front with a field of 46 that probably isn't seeing many guys besides Yamamoto lose anything. But with 16K to go, here we go. Let's have fun. Gel. Follow. Follow. And let's go forward. Yamamoto makes it back. Great. If not, so be it.
It's in such percentages that the strongest can create some gaps.
And for now, they are back in contact. And now, I feel confident going like this. You are punchy-ish.
15 kilometers to the finish line.
So 71, 1 escapes. Chu is done. But he's almost to the top, so let him stay up there a little bit more. Oscar making up some ground. Now it's 53 and Oscar is almost out, so Yamamoto's gonna have to go solo to get back in there. Oscar, if you can, protect. Oh, Yamamoto, come on, 89 and you're losing contact here. It's 49, it's all together. Chu's still leading it. We've reached the flat and Chu is out of energy. Yamamoto, get onto the back end of this thing, and then we're going to have Bagarov take over, 10K to go. Back up to 3 guys. Yamamoto, if we can get him back into position, he is going to take over a 2nd position with Lee in charge. Final climb, Bagarov pushing. Yamamoto never made it back up in position. Red bar's gone, but we still have a little bit of yellow. No seconds available here, and we've got 5 riders off the front. Bagarov, Yamamoto trying to get back in position. Let them recover a little bit, because we know Lee has energy. But these guys are trying to attack, so reverse order. Gel. And Bagarov takes over at the front. Yamamoto chases. 2K to go. Yamamoto sprinting. Lee sprinting, final kilometer. Those 2 are going to hang on. Are you kidding me? And we're not going to get top 3. Ironsman is shelling. Get an ounce of space and turn it into a 1-2 finish. They were just maybe too good to pull back. If I could have gotten Lee with them, he probably would have had his top 3. Maybe I should have tried that. I was worried about not being able to sprint at the end and fade. escape was probably the better option for a guy who's not really a sprinter. Might have been the smarter option. I think I made the wrong call on that one. I think most of you would probably agree that that was the wrong call. Trying to attack alongside those two was more likely to succeed than winning a sprint. It was also, likely to fail, but had it failed, I'm not winning the sprint anyway, so waiting on others to catch them or waiting on my two other guys to come up and do the chasing was not likely to amount to anything. I got exactly what I expected out of that, and we were nowhere near contesting the sprint. Well, anyway, so we will not get a top finish on this one. Let's see where we are standings-wise, though. Did we have any other surprise exits? Did that group cut down a little bit? I doubt it. It's probably still right about 21. Oh, and they even gained 10 additional seconds, so Schelling into the lead over Arnsman, and then we're looking at 26. Oh, it cuts down to 17, but oh, look. They've got us 15th and 17th right at the very, very back end of that group. So we're not even in the top 10, let alone in the top 5 that we could and should maybe be competing in. I think after this stage, it should be more like top 10. But the AI on sprints when you're in GC, everybody else always fighting to get in the top 20, keep a high placing, where the AI, when you're racing GC, they put you right at the tail end of the group when you quick sim. So we were 120 something, which has put us way down the order. But that's okay. Wasn't to be anyway. The real point here was we were aiming for a win, which would have required a win. We didn't get that. We didn't get our podium. So even though we got a 5th place, even though we had a 7th place, this stage being, outside of the top 10 is not relevant. It really didn't matter. So no big deal that they place us down a little bit further, other than it does cost us a few points. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.